Hello everybody, this is Lesson 1 of Module 1. The nature and characteristics of research. Research. It is what it is. But just what is it? Okay, we'll see. So this lesson we're going to have 3 goals. The first one, describe research according to some definitions given by scholars. Second, classify the different types of scientific research. And lastly, we're going to explain the different characteristics of research. What makes a research good? What makes it valid? And what makes it useful? Okay. So, I would like to remind you about the week plans. Our module is good for 2 weeks. So, I'm dividing the learning tasks and I am providing a week plan, which is like a checklist for you to track on the tasks that are required for you to submit within the week. So this is it for this week. You may pause the video or look at the file that I sent you. Alright. So first one, what is research? According to many people in the academe, research has a changing meaning over time, but there has been some core meanings that we're going to learn today. So the first one, Mr. Hillway said, research is a way that mankind has perfected very slowly over a period of several centuries at present, and it is considered as the most reliable means of advancing knowledge. A reliable means of advancing knowledge. So since then, even at the time of the great thinkers of antiquity, Aristotle and his likes, how about Galen, how about Hippocrates? So man has looked at, for example, in the field of medicine, it started from their own ways to right now, the advanced ways of using machines, using scanners, using medicines that are way advanced than before. Man's knowledge has really advanced that we can now look at stars, we can now measure gravitational waves, we can now send a rover to Mars, we can now send a Pioneer Voyager, which is a satellite that goes beyond the solar system. Yes. A lot has changed from how we think before and right now. Even at the microscopic level, we can look at molecules, and inside them we can look at the atoms, the electrons, the quarks, the antiquarks, and all those things in the deepest things. We have pushed our knowledge within and without. So that's because of man's study and his search for truth, and using this in a systematic way. That is what we call research. Next, Helmstadler. According to him, research is the activity of solving problems which leads to new knowledge using methods of inquiry that are currently accepted as adequate by scholars in the field. So research is not only a self-quest, it is also utilizing a community that helps you build this body of knowledge to solve problems. So if these people have made and has established methods, you can use them and improve on them as well. So this is a community. Next, Bowling. He said that research is a systematic and rigorous process of inquiry that aims to describe processes and develop explanatory concepts and theories. That first? Alright, so the main words here are systematic and rigorous process. It is not a direct kind of concluding. We go to a system and a set of procedures that we follow. And it always proceeds from the known to the unknown. The main purpose of this research is the discovery of truth. Man has always sought truth. Truth is not always outrightly seen. Sometimes beautiful things are hidden, but Sometimes also, the truth is just there. So, research is one of those ways of man to uncover hidden truths. Next, so there has been many meanings given about research, and you can read them in your module. Others is talking about research as to search again, or more commonly, it is just the new idea discovery and the discovery of new methods. And this, very important, Kerlinger, 1973, he said that research is systematic, controlled, empirical, critical investigation, guided by theory and hypothesis. Okay, systematic, controlled, empirical, critical. We are going to learn about these words later on. But just take note that research is guided by theory and hypothesis. So when we do an investigation about something that we have observed, we always base it with the current knowledge that we know. For example, the theories of science, the theories and the laws of nature. We always base our research to these theories because these well-established theories, if dili sila sayop, can guide us to learn more about our environment. Okay, so in summary, research is a systematic, objective, and comprehensive investigation of certain phenomena which involves accurate gathering, recording, and critical analyzing and interpreting of all facts about the phenomenon. So we gather, we record, we have to analyze and interpret. So in this part, analyze and interpret, it takes not just mere observation. It takes some tools, and that is used in the discipline of statistics. Again, in the discipline of statistics. Okay, let's go now to the scientific research. Because we are in this curriculum of the special science curriculum, we're going to focus on fields that are geared towards the STEM. Okay, so let's focus on scientific research. There are two types of scientific research that we're going to learn later on. Okay, scientific research. Okay, it involves the performance of a methodical study in order to prove or disprove a hypothesis. So look at that. We really wouldn't know. We really wouldn't know why, but of course, it's contradictory to our common sense. That is why we have to use our senses as well. So in scientific research, we use this to answer a specific question to prove or disprove a hypothesis. And it answers what, how, and why questions. Okay, why do we need to do scientific research? So, just like in your years of studying, you kept on hearing the word gaps. So your teacher might have told you look for the gaps in research. Yes. So we still do not know many things, and the more we know, the more we don't know, just like Richard Feynman said. Okay, so there have been many gaps in knowledge in all aspects, in all disciplines, and we just have to find them. Okay, so in doing scientific research, we try to fill in a gap of it's a discipline or an area that has not been studied yet or has not been explored extensively yet. And just like what Kerlinger said, scientific research is systematic, controlled, empirical, and critical. Just these words describe science, and this is where science meets research. Okay, and when we have these words in science, we refer to this as, what do you think? Here are the clues. What is this method? What is this set of principles that we use to prove or disprove a hypothesis or to answer a question? Okay, scientists use the scientific method. Scientific method is not just a linear set of process. It can be cyclical or iterative, balik-balik. You can go from here, down, 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 and then if things not go their way, we can go back and make a hypothesis again, and so on, until we're able to extract a good amount of data and interpret it and verify it so that we can communicate helpful and useful results. Okay. So there have been many types of research in other disciplines, social sciences, behavioral sciences, and here we are in this scientific research. So for now, let's disregard this diagram first. Let's go right into experimental. So here we are because we belong to the scientific research. Okay, so there are three types of methods. We are having pre-experimental, quasi or quasi-experimental, true experimental. We're going to study about them next week. Okay, talking about the three main branches, these are the classification of research according to inquiry, according to purpose, and according to method. Going here on purpose, there are three: the basic, fundamental, pure research, applied research, and developmental research. Talking about basic research, these are those types of research that really would like to dive deep into concepts and theories about nature. For example, the studies of scientists and their discoveries, the studies of the laws of motion, the studies on the law of planetary motion. What else? Gas laws, Boyle's law, Charles' law. You're going to learn them in grade 10 too. What else? How about concepts and principles? Many other things. So also this happens in other disciplines such as mathematics. So when we study pure maths type of research, for example, you're really going to prove why 1 + 1 is 2 and such that. It can go a lot deeper. But in applied and developmental research, this goes with the purpose of trying to solve practical problems, especially in the community. Alright. So there are two main branches of scientific research. We have physical science research and life science research. Let me load these videos first. So physical science research, what do you think is it? It could involve what types of disciplines? So in the first video, these are pure sources of non-metals, noble gases, xenon, nitrogen, so non-metals. And look what happens. It was ionized and poof, the colors are revealed. Okay, so we could also try in physical science research things like basic electronics. Look at this Christmas tree. So it is Bluetooth activated, or maybe a type of sensor activated, that you can light up your tree with the colors that you want. That's very cool. You can also study material science or loss of motion. Anyway, so when we study physical science research, it involves studies that are in the disciplines of chemistry, physics, material science, engineering, earth science, transportation, energy, and technology. So it deals with motion, with matter and energy, all those kinds of things. And also with the properties of matter. That's belonging to physical science. Next is life science. So, as you've known, in life science research, It can involve the study of plants, of animals, of microorganisms, and maybe viruses and bacteria. So all these kinds of research, they ground on the living organisms that we can observe, maybe in a lab or in person. Look at that cat. Okay, next. Try to classify the type of scientific research that these titles belong. Antibacterial activity of Alugbati Bacilla alba-linnaeus against Salmonella enteritidis. Okay, you can pause the video. What do you think? Okay, that's life science. Next, antimicrobial activity and phytochemical screening of Caulerpa lentilifera. Yes, life science. Okay, when we say phytochemical screening, this is a type of research that tests if there is a presence of phytochemicals in the extracts of a certain plant, such as this one. In a phytochemical screening, they tend to detect whether there is a presence and how great is the amount of that presence of a certain chemical that we call phytochemicals, such as we can have saponins, tannins. You can study about them. Phytochemicals are natural self-defense mechanisms of plants. It's not for their biological processes, but it is for the protection. And scientists have discovered that we can use phytochemicals in the medicine, and it can help us. That is why we can tap on the power of the plants. Okay, we can have antimicrobial properties, anti-diabetic properties, antifungal, antidiuretic, and all those. We can get them from the power of plants. This one, embedding of copper sulfate and copper oxide on multi-purpose paper. Alright, this time it's physical science. So you are involving a little chemistry here of the copper sulfate and copper oxide on a paper. So material science and chemistry. That's physical science. Okay, so I also have videos here. If I share this PowerPoint with you, you just click on these videos and test yourself whether you can classify if it's life science or earth science. Physical science. Okay, let's now go to the third portion. Characteristics of research. What makes a research valid? What makes it good? What makes it conclusive? What makes it useful? Okay, here are the few words. Let's have this. What could this word be? Alright, it's empirical. When we say empirical, it is on direct observation and direct experience of the researcher. So, this type of research, we really get on and maybe set up our plants, and we really feel the plant, and maybe we really measure the electrical we can't do that. That's too harmful, but never mind. Okay, when we say empirical, we experience it. We measure it. We use a ruler for measuring length. We use beakers. We experience it. So during your years as a special science curriculum student, it's really a good privilege to be able to use the lab. So I can still imagine how it felt for me also when I first used the lab back in my college days as a physical science student in Cebu Normal University. So I still remember how it felt to do flame tests or do titrations wherein change into pink ang color sa usa ka solution That is very clear. How about using acids? Some acids, yes. So it really feels good when we can get down and work with things. So hopefully we can do that soon when the situations become okay ng tanan. And then when we say empirical, the collection of data relies on practical experience without the benefit of scientific inquiry or scientific knowledge. Next, what is this? Alright, logical. So when we say it's logical, it is based on valid procedures and principles. So research follows systematic and valid procedures. So, just like in this picture, you have this problem, you hypothesize, you observe, gather data, and maybe do an experiment. Things could go wrong over here and do it all over again. Yes, of course, we all experience that. And then, somehow along the way, masakto na, and then you can draw your conclusions from your analyzed data and you can communicate your results. Next, how about this? The word is cyclical. Okay, research is a cyclical process because it starts with a problem and ends with a problem. When we do an observation and ask that question and try to answer it in a hypothesis, and then test whether we are right in an experiment, then analyze our observation in the experiment, and then make conclusions, there will always be new observations that would that would tingle in our minds and ask for more questions. It's always like that. When we know, the more you want to know more. So for example, plant extract. In a plant extract, you're studying in a medical properties of that plant, certain plant, and then you have discovered that this plant has some certain potential for medicinal properties. Okay, after that, you will still then ask. So many questions will still arise. You can have, what affects the medical properties of that extract? So for example, if you heat it too much, will the medical property weaken? So because these extracts, these physical things are always affected by physical things also. So pwede siya maapektahan sa temperature, what else? If isagol ba siya sa laing chemical, it will always be affected. You can also ask, what are better ways to extract it? If pabukalan ba nimo kay dili ba makita yung potential medical property because ma-degrade, maybe you need to soak it in an alcohol or an ethanol. Maybe you can use other solutions. Would it be good as a solid or as a liquid? Or you'd better compare it to another plant extract. So many questions would arise. That is why in a problem seeking part, it would be good for us to look at recommendations from past researches and then start on them. Okay, next, how about this word? Analytical. Okay, when we say it's analytical, research utilizes the data, the empirical data, and these analytical procedures in gathering the data, which is what we call statistics. And then we base our judgments on data, the processed data, and the right set of tools. So there really is the basis of our conclusion. Dili maditso-ditso nga average lang na, dili maditso nga, what is it? Average lang, because we still have to look at how varied are our data. So moadto na punta sa measures of variability, adto na punta other tests. Okay, it's not just what we can merely see. We can look at the relations of the numbers themselves. using statistics and the right set of tools, like mga instruments in the lab. Okay, for example, these measures of central tendency, mean, median, mode, these three are collectively called averages. So average ni silang tanan, but different ang ilahang purpose or use. So you cannot always use one for the other. So you must learn how to use them or when to use them. Okay. Last three. Who could guess? The first one is critical. Second, methodical. Third, replicability. When we say it's critical, it exhibits careful and precise judgment. A higher level of confidence must be established. So, your research must be based on a good preparation, a good design of experiments, and a well-analyzed data. So, para taas imong level of confidence, defend mo sa imong data, you really can defend it because you've been through kanang a set of a good research design nga gi-randomize na nimo, gikuha na nimo ang gi-lessen na nimo ang effects sa extraneous variables inana. Okay, so this is why it goes with logical as well. So para ni ang imong interpretation would be as precise and as accurate as possible. And also, when it comes to hypothesis, you will either accept or reject it. So, kuhaon jud nato atong personal nga bias. If the results do not support your hypothesis, okay, ang mga p-values, you'll either reject it or ayaw na lang jud. Or you can do it again and maybe nasayop ra pod ang imong data na nagather, maybe nasayop ka og measure. So things like that would happen. There are errors. There are risks anywhere. So dili po ta magditso og conclude. Next and last, we have replicability. So if your research design could be replicated somewhere by another person and the procedures would arrive similarly, that means it is a strong one, it is valid, and it has conclusive results. Similarities and differences of replicated researches can be compared. But if dili jud parehas, you can still look at other things. Ngano kaya nga dili parehas? Maybe ang temperature nila dito sa ilang country lahi sa pagkandak na ko diri, so wala natubo ilang plants or some things like that. So there's still many conditions nga atong tan-awon. So dili ta mo dito nga conclude nga na-fail na ang atong research. And also there could be errors during the gathering of the data. So always remember nga na jud daghang part nga i-consider. But the best would be nga replicable ang imong data because all laws of nature that are well established work anywhere in the universe. And if they don't, then there's a problem. There is a gap in that theory or in that law. So muna nga kung ma-work sa Philippines, hopefully ma-work pud unta sa other country. Or if ma-work sa ato sa imo nga setup, if your classmate does it again, mahitabo gihapon ang similar results. But then again, if dili, it's okay. Okay, so that's the last one. And I hope that you will continue to persevere in this subject because research can get real messy jud. And daghan jud tang na experience sa una no nga makaana jud ta nga kapoy ang research. Most students really remember research as kapoy. But let us remember this privilege of doing scientific research. This is a good avenue to have more skills nga magamit nato pohon sa atong pagpanarbaho or as a person. More skills, and also the skills that we get from doing research kay makatabang pud ta sa uban, not just to ourselves. Okay, it can be real messy, yes, but following a systematic and non-biased set of steps, we can then get new ideas. Okay, these new ideas pwede ra jud nga as simple na mga ideas. Okay, dili jud ingon nga kailangan jud tag mga bonggang-bonggang nga results or bonggang-bonggang nga type of research. It can be as easy as makadiscover ba ka nga antibacterial ang usa ka plant, or not to discover but prove. Okay, so it could be as easy as that, but the impact would go a long way. Okay, so continue to persevere with research. Okay, so it's now done. I hope you guys have learned. Comment down on what you have learned. Alright, and see you again in the next lesson.